I'm Angela Johnson-Mazares. I'm the Director of Policy and General Counsel with the California Environmental Rights Alliance. This is a 10-part series that puts out there the environmental justice community's perspective on climate change and climate change policy, particularly focused in California. And as part of this series, we'll be talking about our perspective on a range of different reasons why climate change matters to our communities, what the impacts will be on our communities if we don't address climate change, and what the impacts are of the various different policy solutions that have been proposed by California's administration. There are two major policy solutions that are being offered on how we can address climate change. One is known as the carbon trading or cap and trade program. The other is a carbon fee in California. Now, the trading program is what they call a free market solution, whereas a carbon fee would be a market solution. Now, we understand now that there's a difference between free market solutions and market solutions. Free market solutions look like what we're going through right now: massive bank failures, run on banks, drop in the stock market, as we understand that the free market can run wild. On the other alternative, we have a carbon fee. A carbon fee is an option that allows you to put a price on carbon so that you can have those same kinds of signals encouraging people to change the way they use energy, encouraging people to change the way we make energy, and thereby being able to directly address our carbon emissions issues. Now, in California, the administration has put forward a cap and trade program. This is despite the fact that a cap and trade program has never worked anywhere on the planet to reduce the kinds of emissions we're talking about here. In the environmental justice community, as well as others, we've been advocating a carbon fee. A carbon fee would be a fee that's placed on the emissions of carbon. It's straightforward, it's transparent, it's clear, and it's not something that's going to be gamed by market traders. You're not going to come up with carbon fee derivative products that end up bringing down the international monetary system.
Hello, I'm Leo Mears from the Environmental Health Coalition here in San Diego. We need to move beyond fossil fuel energy generation. However, cap and trade merely affirms this old, dirty business as usual. Speculators waiting on the sidelines to buy into the market, the availability of cheap offsets that be difficult to verify, and a troubling lack of emission reporting transparency all allow too much room for market manipulation and no room for the actual reduction of carbon emissions.
Hi, I'm Jane Williams. I'm the Executive Director of California Communities Against Toxics, which is a statewide coalition of over 70 environmental justice organizations in California. And I also co-chair the state's Environmental Justice Advisory Committee on Greenhouse Gases. Okay, so the problem with over-allocation in these pollution trading markets is a huge problem, and it is an endemic problem. It is, you know, all the programs I've looked at that are doing pollution trading start by being over-allocated. And so what the European Union said was, okay, well, we'll crack down on the allocations and we'll auction all the permits. That's how we're going to solve the fundamental problems with the European Union emission trading scheme. And of course, then once the political process starts for how many allocations you need, and different European Union countries say, well, no, I need more, or no, well, no, I need more, well, no, I need more, and you have all this political pressure on who's going to get the allowances, you end up with over-allocation again in the second phase, and you end up with you end up with no auctions. And so it's like a Pandora's box. Once you open it, you can't shut it.
My name is Luke Cole. I'm the Executive Director of the Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment in San Francisco. I've been an environmental justice lawyer for the last 19 years, representing community groups around the country, fighting environmental hazards and building community power. There are a number of conceptual problems with pollution trading programs. The first and largest is that, like any other market, they can be gamed. We saw this in Los Angeles, where car scrapping was one of the ways to reduce emissions. But what the car scrappers were doing was scrapping the car and then selling the engine. So not only did you have the new pollution from the person who bought the pollution trading credit, but you had the old pollution still driving around because that engine was still in the street. This type of gaming of the system is endemic to markets. There's always a black market. A second major problem with pollution trading is that it stifles innovation. Because the markets are over-allocated, they're not actually causing investment in alternatives to carbon pollution. What they're doing is they're just having people rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic rather than figuring out what the lifeboat is to get us out of this dire situation.
You had the EU ETS come about roughly 4 years ago. You had the first national allocation program, which lasted 3 years. It was, in many people's view, an utter failure. You had these massive wealth transfers. You didn't get greenhouse gas emissions, and you certainly didn't get major changes in the way energy was produced and used. You're talking about windfall profits in the order of billions and billions of dollars in the European Union. These are not insignificant wealth transfers. These are huge wealth transfers. And in the case of France, for instance, after the European Union emission trading scheme came in, there were, they actually had a very powerful political backlash because people's utility bills went up like sometimes 70%. And so there was a huge increase in the price of electricity in some of these countries, the way that the program was administered. So price volatility is a real problem in markets because it inhibits innovation. It inhibits people making commitments of capital when the price of whatever it is going up and down. It doesn't matter if it's pork bellies, if it's energy, if it's, these paper credits that are supposed to allow you to pollute a certain amount. Anything that has price volatility, people are, just like the market now, mortgages, a lot of price volatility in the mortgage market, so people are just backing away from it. They're going to go invest in gold or commodities, or they're going to put their money in their mattress, whatever. They're not going to invest in something that has a lot of price volatility, because the value is not there. So when you've got price volatility, you can imagine in the European Union ETS, you went from $35 a ton to $1 a ton, and that happened in just like a week's time. That's a lot of price volatility. People don't want to invest in that.